That's a fine black dress you got on. You look good in that veil.
I'm curious. I'm going to have to read this.
Well, it was pretty fun to write. It's I go through a list of rules the guy came up with during his encounters. In his head, he goes through the rules that he came up with how to pick these women up. Things he should do, things he shouldn't do, and number one is don't tell him his real name for some odd reason.
Can't imagine.
Geronimo Rodriguez. That's my bar name.
It'd be scary if we get you two in the same room.
Oh, we'd have a ball.
Yeah, I'm sure we would, because I've had a name in my head. I haven't used it much, but it was O.J. Samuel.
O.J. Samuel?
Yeah. My first name's Samuel, and my other initials are O and J.
Well, run that by me again. You can't cut out.
No, that's okay. I don't want anybody to know it anyway. If I ever disappear, I'm going to find out.
That's probably a good idea. Wow. So do you write mostly fictional novels, or just this was a special occasion?
Well, I've wanted to be a novelist literally since I was 10 years old. I remember when I was 10, walking into the living room and announcing this to my parents, who laughed. And I grew up and, knew I was going to be a writer. I worked as a print journalist for 17 years. And afterward, after I stopped working in a newspaper, I got a job teaching at a university. I teach journalism. And I discovered that summers are amazing. I don't have to work, so I write books every summer. And
that seems an excellent idea to me. I like it.
I should have done that if it made it easier.
And my first book was a book of humor, humor essays about being a parent. I wrote 4 books on the paranormal, and I also wrote a humorous travel log about a trip I took to Canada just to get some Canadian beer that they don't sell down here. This is my first novel. I also have 3 more coming out. I've got in January, actually, I have a kind of a home do-it-yourself guidebook sort of thing. It's called How to Kill Monsters with Common Everyday Objects. The basic,
I like it.
The basic thought is, if a vampire or a werewolf or a killer robot from the future just happens to attack you in your home, what do you have within hand's reach to defend yourself?
Yeah.
I've discovered with werewolves, it's nice to keep a cat around your house as a distraction to coming out.
Cool.
So I've got there quite a few things going on.
So this is going to be your only fictional novel.
Right, because the zombies are definitely true. I'm prepared for this stuff.
Dude, I mean, bath salts. That's the zombie of the 21st century.
Yeah, well, but the funny thing was the zombies that they blamed bath salts on later when they tested these people, it was not bath salts. So I'm not sure why they were eating other people's faces, but it was happening, people. And it started in Florida. Everything started in Florida.
Not in Florida.
Yeah.
Although they have some good Jewish food in Florida.
But you've got alligators, you've got old people, and you got zombies in Florida. It's dangerous.
Good Jewish food. Don't forget the good Jewish food.
Well, it make sense for zombies in Florida because the old people move slower.
Right, absolutely. Well, and that's what I figured out. A lot of monsters are over in America. They've completely ditched Europe, the old school monsters like your vampires and your Frankenstein type monsters, and they've come over here because Americans are more obese than anybody else. We're a lot easier to reach.
Right.
Yeah.
We are slower.
I agree. Yeah.
I need a drink. All right.
Jason, I tell you.
What,
You're 6 minutes into it. What'd you say?
I said, what, you haven't started yet?
No, I was going to say. I was going to say I started now. 6 minutes in. I figure that's good.
So, what's your favorite everyday object to kill a monster?
Well, it really, really depends on the monster. I really like the skull crushing ability of a plush Garfield frozen in your big freezer. That is not only effective, it's also fun to watch.
I bet.
Yeah. I have never beaten anything with a frozen Garfield, so yeah, that would be fascinating.
Give that a shot. I also describe how to make pipe bombs and hide them in a ham just in case a velociraptor happens to get into your house. They'll definitely go for the ham.
Because you never know when those velociraptors are going to come back.
Oh, it's going to happen. We're going to have the great velociraptor wave of 2016. You just, right here, I'm telling you, on the air. You can bank on it.
It'll be right here on this show, people.
Jason will call her in with him.
And the velociraptor.
Well, I can call in while fending one off. I know how to do it.
Truly, I believe you are a badass, and I think that you could. I think you could do that. I have no doubt in my mind.
The trick with dinosaurs in your house is to be a hoarder. Have stacks of crap everywhere. It makes for great cover.
Wow.
And you can also set things on fire, especially if you've got like zombies or demonic clowns. It's okay. Make sure you keep open bottles of vodka, dirty rags, and Bic lighters all over the house. People are going to think you're a raging alcoholic, but what would you rather have? Social praise or, be able to defend yourself in your own house? And make sure your insurance keep your insurance paid up, okay?
That's a good idea.
I keep vodka around my house anyway, so that's good. I'm good.
And don't let any insurance adjusters in the door before.
Yeah.
Hey, I just wrote about things I do already,
Right, absolutely.
Have we mentioned that we feel sorry for your wife?
Yeah, she seems like a nice lady. I mean, I don't know her, but
she probably feels sorry for herself too. I don't know.
She's tolerant.
And what? Okay, I was sheer curiosity. What does your wife do?
She's a librarian.
Oh, so she's pretty normal, down to earth, intelligent.
And
yeah.
Just goes to the other room.
She has a good sense of humor, so yeah, we get along fine.
Oh, my stomach's gonna hurt. We got 45 minutes more of this.
Okay, but tell us the name of that one that's coming out. It's January.
Yeah, it's called How to Kill a Monster with Everyday Household Items.
Is it available for pre-order?
It is not right now, but it should be on Amazon any day. You know what? I'll just check. It should be any time. And no, it is not yet. But yeah, keep checking.
Will do, because I think that will be an awesome one to pick up. I'm looking forward to that one as well.
One of our other members hanging around here said that would be a good coffee table book. I think it's definitely a conversation piece.
Coffee tables, if they're not that heavy, can be used as a weapon.
Or if you're a big man like myself or Jim here, we both are pretty big guys. Picking up a coffee table is nothing. And
you guys will be fine. And if you have any,
I bet she will.
And if you have any elderly relatives living at home with you, prosthetic legs also work great.
Oh, absolutely! You can beat somebody with a prosthetic.
Oh, yeah.
David Sloan.
We'll throw him at the Velociraptor and take the reins.
Hey, are you guys having fun yet? I'm having a great time, and I'm even saving your listeners, from monsters. So this is terrific. I'm getting a job done and having fun.
There you go.
Public service announcement. DTM Wicked Radio.
Oh, we ought to do that. We ought to do that, Jason. When the book comes out, we ought to have you record some PSAs from your book, and we'll air them on the show.
Just let me know. I'd love to. Yeah.
Denny, if you're listening, I think that would be an excellent thing to have on your radio station. And
we can play them on our show regardless. We'll definitely get with you on that one, Jason.
Oh, crap. I don't even know what to ask you now.
Well, I thought so because a real fascinating topic whenever we talk to Jason is time travel. And he did mention about robots coming from the future. So there's an opening. You've written about those topics before. And we've talked about it before, but why don't you share a bit of your experience with people with time travel?
Well, I absolutely love this topic. I've collected a lot of stories from people who've, just even something simple from, I was driving to my mom's house, and I saw this house on a hill that I'd never noticed before, and I drove by, and it was, the lawn was well cut, and the paint was bright white, and nice red roof and all this, and a red barn in the backyard, and I thought that was odd, and then when I drove home later in the day, it was a decrepit mess. I've gotten lots of those sort of time slip type stories, which I think are absolutely fascinating. A few of the ones that I really, really like. There's a guy, he was 19-year-old from Springfield, Missouri. About, 8 or 9 years ago. He pulled into a gas station and was filling up his truck tank. He was driving an old Chevy, an S10, I think that's what it was. And he said a guy, he noticed it. He looked over and he was standing in front of the gas station. He said he was a big guy, bald, and wearing a suit that looked kind of old-fashioned style. It wasn't an old suit, but the style was a little old-fashioned. And he said the guy looked furious and he was yelling at him, what year is this? And he said, it's 2000 whatever. And the guy was screaming, what? It's what? Tell me. Okay, it's 2002. And the guy just kept screaming, and he finished with the gas, and he paid at the pump, and he's like, I've just got to get the hell out of here. He got in the truck and looked in the rearview mirror, and the guy was gone within seconds. He couldn't have gone in the store. He said he actually got out of the truck and looked. Nobody was in the store except for the clerk. So he had absolutely no idea who this guy was. He would have thought he was just a nut, except for the fact that he literally disappeared.
Do you think that something like that though could be confused, an entity being confused as time travel?
Oh, I hadn't considered that. Yeah, I mean, very well could have been. Could have been, some kind of a ghost or some entity like that. It was just confused. Yeah.
I've seen stuff like in cemeteries and one that really sticks in my mind, and it really was kind of interesting, is this gal was very modern, meaning she had more facial piercings than I could ever count, and was riding a bicycle through the cemetery, and I was on a jog. I jog. I don't run, I jog. And I had the feeling, I turned around to see if she was still there, and she was gone. And there is no way, and if you've seen this area, there's no way that she could have gone fast enough to be able to at least get out of my sight. You know what I'm saying? So it was just like, it was almost like she was, possibly an entity of some sort, but, she was so modern. And this cemetery is extremely old, so she was really out of place. It was just an odd deal. So that's, when you said that, I was like, that could be very easily explained as, paranormal being an entity of some sort,
That's true. I mean, it's definitely possible. Or maybe she was from the near future and came back.
Right. She would have to have been near future. I mean, she was gonna grunge rocky kind of, that what kids look like these days. I don't know how to explain it, but lots of
well, but then again, as all the research that I've done, entities like ghosts aren't generally bound by the place they died. I mean, that's the old thing.
Absolutely.
So I mean, it could have. I mean, if it was a ghost, it could have been any ghost from anywhere. It just happened to be there at that moment in time to screw with you.
Well, I see a lot of things that screw with me. So
you're not all ghosts either.
No.
Well, I think back on time travel. I've got two that I really love. Two stories. One is you guys know who Mike Markham was? Does that name ring a bell?
Yeah.
All right. Art Bell back in 1995 read an Associated Press story that was in the New York Times about a guy from a small town in Missouri named Michael Markham, who was arrested because he'd stolen 6 power line transformers and used them to try and build a time machine. And he found the guy, and he interviewed him and his arresting officer on the air. And over the next 2 years, Art interviewed him a couple of more times. And when Markham got out of jail, he was trying to build his time machine again. And because of Art's show, people donated tons of money and equipment. And he told Art that I'm on the verge of trying this. And then, poof, Art didn't get any. He lost contact with him. I actually talked with some of his friends who he just was gone. Friends that he ate dinner with and went over to their house. They went over to his apartment. Just all of a sudden, he was just gone. And that was kind of that was a mystery. And there's people online for years going, well, whatever happened to Mike Markham? And does this ring any bell now?
Yeah, actually, I remember reading the story. Yeah.
Yeah, I found it. I found Mike Markham after he said, Art, I'm going to try this, and then he was gone. He had rented a warehouse in Kansas City, Missouri, and built a man-sized, because the one he originally built was pretty small. He built a big machine, and he threw some fruit through it, and the fruit disappeared, and it appeared out in the parking lot. He bought some guinea pigs, and he tossed some guinea pigs in, and they would appear out in the parking lot of this warehouse that he'd rented, and they would have appeared outside because a lot of people don't think in this. Because they see time travel on movies and on TV, and it's you jump in the future, boom, you're exactly where you were. But looking at the physics of everything, the Earth's turning. Yeah. It's going around the sun. The Milky Way, our spiral arm is moving. If you jumped into a time machine and appeared in the exact same spot 10 years in the future, you're out in space. Okay, so if you're jumping just a little bit in the future, you're not going to be right where you were. So, with a couple of second jump, you were out in the parking lot. He jumped in. He said the next thing he knew, he was lying in a field outside of Cincinnati. And he woke up, he was in the field, had no idea where he was. He didn't know who he was. He started walking. Somebody found him. It was winter. He wasn't wearing a coat. They took him to a homeless shelter, and little by little, he started remembering who he was and what happened. And, he eventually made it back to Kansas City, and the warehouse that he'd rented was empty because somebody else, had taken his stuff because, the landlord's like, okay, you're not here paying rent. This stuff is junk. It's gone. And all of his notes, all of his videos, everything had just disappeared. So now he just works a menial job in plays video games.
That's kind of anticlimactic.
Yeah, that really just ended horribly.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but that's the story.
How did you find this guy?
Well, I did a lot of searches for Mike Markham, and I put my name out on some websites, and somebody got a hold of me and said I know this dude. He said I played video games with him, so he put me in contact with him, and it was the same guy.
Wow,
that's crazy. Kind of makes you wonder. Kind of makes you wonder if he really did it or if it was all just a hoax.
Well, I don't know if he'd have anything to. I mean, because after that, a lot of people, because I wrote an article that was in the Nexus magazine, which is out of Australia, but it's distributed worldwide. I started getting a ton of emails and letters, people wanting to get a hold of him to give him money so he would work on his time machine again. And he cut me off. He said, I don't want to do this anymore. So if he was just doing it for publicity, if he just talked to me for publicity, that's kind of the wrong, that was the wrong reaction.
That's true.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, absolutely. I think if people were offering me money to do something like that, I was scared.
Yeah. And maybe it scared him.
Yeah.
it could have.
Could have.
I've seen a lot of pictures. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No. Oh well, I was gonna go on to my next time travel story. I got one more, but if you have a question or a comment.
I was just commenting. A lot of pictures out on the internet recently, and within the last few years, and about people in modern clothing in past situations. What do you think about those?
Oh, it depends. I mean, there are a lot of things about fashion and technology in the past that we really don't know about today. For example, there was a film about a Charlie Chaplin movie, and there was a woman who looked like she was talking on a cell phone.
I've seen that.
Yeah, I've seen it.
You've seen that one? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing that popped into my head was, okay, even if this was somebody from the future with a cell phone and she was talking in it, we didn't have any satellites. We had no communication satellites circling the Earth. Okay, who the hell is she talking to?
That's a good point. I didn't even think about that, but you're right.
I mean, unless the signal's going through a wormhole.
Right, it's not working. So, I mean, that was they had electronic hearing aid devices like that. They were that big that you had to hold up to your ear. So, I mean, that's a possibility that's what it was. About the clothes, one I think is really fascinating. There was a bridge dedication in, I think it was Canada. And there was a guy in modern-looking clothes standing around, standing with a bunch of people in suits and, fedora hats. You know what I'm talking about? He had like a sweater with an M on it, and looked like he was holding a modern camera.
Yeah, I've seen that, yes.
Yeah, that one, I thought that was pretty fascinating. I can't really explain that one, but I mean, there are lots of cases of things that we can't explain. There was a tomb that was opened in China, a couple of decades ago. It hadn't, it'd been closed for, hundreds and hundreds of years, and there was a ring in it that had a watch, and on the back of the watch it said Swiss.
Wow.
So, I mean, that was a fairly modern thing. How the hell did that get there?
Right.
Yeah, especially if there's no indication it had ever been opened, yeah.
Huh.
Right, there are so many cases like that, and there are so many, out-of-place objects that, I'm pretty convinced something's going on, or maybe it's just my, romanticism with time travel that I want it to be happening. But I love those stories.
I agree with you, man. I wanted to time travel when I was a kid. I still do.
Well, yeah, it'd be awesome. Here's sort of a related topic because, I mean, you've written a lot about the paranormal, including shadow men, etc. What do you think of the the sensation and attention that has been put on the Hat Man phenomena recently?
Well, it's because I explored the Hat Man phenomenon in my book Darkness Walks, where I looked at all shadow people, all different types of entities that fit into that category. And I mean, the Hat Man is behavior-wise similar to other types of shadow people. It's just that he wears a fedora, which I think is bizarre. But this entity's been seen, in all around North America. I talked with a guy in Brazil who saw one. In Europe, people have seen this entity. They're generally ominous. Sometimes, taking, people see them standing in the doorway staring at them. I've never talked to anybody who's had one attack them or not. They're just creepy as hell.
I think they're just watchers. I've been around them most of my life. I see them quite often, whether it be in an old farmhouse we lived in as a kid or the house I live in now, and actually one of our tour locations has one too. So, really, to me, I've never felt like that there was any sort of negativity from one. I mean, in fact, the one as a kid made me feel more at ease. So I think a lot of people just assume that because they're dark that they have ominous intentions or, misguided intentions maybe. But
well, I think a lot of people have talked about, why is it always a fedora? That one thought that comes to my mind is when you look at the time period that fedoras were really popular, there was a lot of violence. I mean, a lot of, whether it was World War II, whether, gangland violence, etc. So there were just a large number of men that would have met a violent end that would be comfortable appearing that way.
Well, and they were also really, really common for a long time. So I mean that's another thing. With the shadow people, when I broke them down, into categories in my book, and there were a couple of categories that were definitely not just threatening, but they would, I hate to say attack, but they would seem to feed off of people's terror. The Hat Man usually didn't fit into that. Usually, you said you think he's a watcher. That's generally what they did. When people saw them, they were just watching them. They were just observing. And when the Hat Man would notice that the person who were observing was observing them, they would leave, a lot of times in a panic. I interviewed a guy who was in the middle of the day, and he was at home. He was like 17. His mom was out shopping, and he was sitting on a couch, and he felt something. He's like, somebody watching me. And he looks over, and he sees, a black cutout of a human wearing a fedora standing in the kitchen doorway watching him. And he couldn't see any features because, people don't on shadow people generally. But he felt that he was watching him. And as soon as this Hat Man noticed it, he just turned around and took off running. And there was a crash from the kitchen. And the kid got up and scrambled in the kitchen to see what was going on. And he saw the Hat Man jump off the back deck, and the fall was like 20 feet. But there was a double-pane sliding glass door, and the inside pane was shattered, and the outside pane was fine. So he said he's convinced the shadow person ran through that door. Shattered one pane. Yeah.
He obviously didn't make it through.
Well, he saw him jump off the back deck, so he made it through. He crashed through one, and it was non-corporeal through the second.
So somehow it affected the glass in the first one,
but not the second pane, which is pretty fascinating.
I've often wondered if shadow people in general are not necessarily even spirit or entity. What if they're some sort of alien?
Or interdimensional
being of some sort.
Well, and that's one of the things that I came up with. That was my basic conclusion, because I interviewed over 250 people who've experienced various types of shadow people. I interviewed experts in various religions, world religions, physicists, doctors, psychologists, all sorts of different people about what these entities can be. And what I came up with was that they are a number of different entities that just happen to look the same. Some of them act like ghosts. Some act like residual ghosts. They walk down the steps, they turn the corner to the kitchen, and they disappear. They do that fairly regularly. Others are just watchers. I saw shadow people when I was a kid, and they just walked out of a corner of my room, past my bed, and into the hallway and disappeared. And there are a lot of cases of that, and it was like they're just going from point A to point B, and then I just happen to see them. They could be interdimensional travelers. You mentioned aliens, maybe demonic entities, the jinn. When I interviewed a Cherokee shaman who said that shamans who use their knowledge for greed eventually morph into something evil and wicked that can appear as this kind of a dark shadow. So there's a lot of different explanations to this.
There's an Indian tribe near us, the Seneca Cayuga, that they have a very similar story of it's basically a shadow person, but they call them the Ewok, that have, in their opinion, have physical properties. They're solid, the shadow person, and they view them as evil. And their theory is that their ancestral spirits stay around to protect the living from them, but that they're not completely spirit. That you can walk into them as if you're walking into a person.
That's interesting.
And so the story about shamans using greed and turning into something like that, I almost wonder maybe that's what they are.
Very well could be. I'm a shamanic practitioner. Of course, we all know that here. But during journey, sometimes I run into characters that aren't solid or have any sort of form. They're just, they have like a human form, but they're shadow. But I've never run into one that seems, negative. But maybe that's my perception of it. I don't know. So I find that interesting that they view it as a negative spirit. I don't know that I.
But maybe they view it. Maybe they view it negatively because they feel that it was created by a negative means.
Well, and that may be too. I think that I think once we cross over to that next level, things can change. But that's you're probably right. They probably view it negatively because that's what they were at that time when they were alive.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and there are also, I don't remember, was it the Hopi? No, it wasn't the Hopi. They're from the desert Southwest. God, this is because I wrote the book in 2009, so I'm trying to remember. I interviewed an expert in, Indians from the American Southwest, and there these shadow entities are viewed as bad omens of impending doom, death, something bad's going to happen. And I have interviewed a number of people who have seen shadow people right before somebody in the family died. So there might be some credence to that. I talked to one person who saw a shadow person in broad daylight outside. She was in her house, in her bedroom. She just looked outside. It was in the middle of the day, and there was this shadow being standing next to a lamppost, looking, he was staring at a house across the street. And she saw him there a couple of days in a row. People walking by didn't notice it. And then the thing was gone one day, and there was an ambulance in front of the house, and her neighbor had died in his sleep. So there's lots of cases like that.
I wonder how they know. I've never, of the shadow people I've seen, I've never noticed eyes or enough even form to determine which way it's even looking. So I'm always curious on how people.
Well, I have seen a couple of instances, and one that would be in the basement of the Olivia, that would be walking and turn its head so you could tell where it was looking.
Interesting.
And usually, if it, you would catch it, you come around the corner and it would be walking, and it would stop and turn and look at you, and then shoot off another way, and you wouldn't be able to catch up to it. But
I could. I'm a cheetah.
You couldn't make it to the Olivia basement.
Hell no, that was creepy as shit.
Wait a second, we can say shit?
Yeah, we can say shit. It's internet radio.
Oh man, I've been holding back.
Just don't drop the F-bomb, although that's happened on the show. Not by me. I don't think it was by me.
I thought it was.
No, I think it was the guest.
Oh, yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah. Yeah, this is internet radio, man. We're not prudes.
Yeah. Yeah, he doesn't care.
I'm not sure.
Ain't got no FCC looking over my shoulder.
That's right. Can you say that out loud?
Just ask.
What do you like?
No, I was
Muting?
Ask Jason.
Well, my question is if the people are seeing this shadow person before the other person passes away, could it be that the person that's passing away, could it be their guide coming to get them?
Oh, yeah, if you want to, look at the afterlife as some pleasant, friendly thing. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it could be. It could be somebody waiting, to escort the, to the soul to the afterlife. Or who knows? I talked with a woman whose husband had stage 4 cancer, and he had 20 or more of these shadow beings around his bed, and they were scaring the shit out of him. See, I just did that.
I hope you said shit earlier, though.
No, I don't think I did, but that's okay. I don't think so, because like I said, I was holding back. I'm a guest on your show. I was trying to be polite. But the thing is about these shadow entities is that people, generally get the impression that they're not there to do something, good. If this was somebody's guide to take them to the afterlife, why does it look so freaking terrifying?
That's true.
I agree with that.
John just lost his drink.
Lisa has like 35 children.
That is not true.
They're just like all over the place. They come out of the woodwork.
He did literally just sit here.
I don't know, but whenever it's my time, if there's a guide out there waiting to take me to the afterlife, it sure as hell better look like Kate Upton. That's all I'm saying.
Or Sandra Bullock. Sandra Bullock. Or Joe. Scarlett Johansson. Yeah, she's all right. I wouldn't get
Scarlett Johansson, she's all right.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
I've seen a picture of Scarlett Johansson at a I don't know what she was doing, but she was in a white bikini pouring beer behind a bar. She's all right with me.
Yeah, I would prefer. Who's the guy that plays the Phoenix on X-Men? Me, not you. Not that way. Huh? Who was that? Anyway, her, the Phoenix.
Yeah.
That's who I want to come take me to the afterlife. Oh, wait a minute, she's kind of evil now.
Wait, I want Vin Diesel to come to me.
I look kind of like Vin Diesel.
No, you don't.
Yeah.
No, you don't.
Actually, what's going to happen is that for me, it's going to be my mom, and she's going to yell at me the whole time.
That would be my luck, too.
Lisa's mom is sweet. Don't let her say that. Have you seen my dog's drugs?
Yeah, I mean,
You're on the air, right? Air. quotations on that. So, okay, so
I lost my train of
I've
thought.
lost my train of thought, too.
People come in the day. Trying to get you taken to that side.
I think we've got past that.
Okay.
Yeah, what's your next question? We got 14 minutes. You can
I don't
this
have
up.
one at the moment. I need to check it out.
Okay, Jason, what's your favorite monster?
Oh, my favorite monster? Godzilla.
Did you see the new
Come
one?
on, he's the king of monsters. Steven says so. Godzilla, king of monsters.
You're saying it completely wrong.
What, Godzilla? What am I supposed to say? Yeah. Well, you didn't see my mouth said it and then my voice came. You can't see it because it's raining.
Right.
There you go.
Gotta fight me.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know. I'm really. We go ahead. Sorry.
No, did you see the new one?
Oh, it was terrible.
I know, it was pretty bad.
Oh, it was.
But it was bad.
It was. I wanted to see Godzilla in a Godzilla movie. 20 minutes left in the movie, I turned it off. I didn't even finish it. And that was probably the most exciting Godzilla film part, but I was frustrated because I didn't care about any of the. I love storytelling. I'm a storyteller, and the story. I didn't even care about the people.
No, I didn't either. I was kind of hoping they'd get eaten.
Yeah, I mean, Bryan Cranston was the only guy I cared about. He died early on. Sorry, anybody who's seen that. Didn't mean to say it. But where it comes to monsters, you might run into. I really like the Dogman stories. Where it was just the Dogman. I mean, the big one was the one in Wisconsin, the Beast of Bray Road.
Yeah.
But there have been some in Missouri. I interviewed a guy. Actually, both of them. They're Ryan. Oh, I can't remember his friend's name. They were at a cemetery near Brunswick, Missouri, and they were doing an investigation at the cemetery, and nothing was really happening that night. And they left. Huh?
We know this story.
Oh, did Ryan tell you?
Yeah.
Is that Ryan's story? It was okay.
Go ahead and tell.
Okay, because the listeners might not, but yeah, it is an awesome story. The guy with them wasn't Mike. Anyway, they were driving away from the cemetery down a dirt road, and at the bottom of the hill was a dog. A big dog was in the road, and Ryan told me that the windows were down. They could smell wet dog, and a little tap on the horn, and this thing looks up. It's like it was eating something, and it looked up, and then it stands up on its hind legs and walks into the trees. What the hell was that?
I'd be like, dude, finish up. Don't let me bother you.
Yeah. You want to get a breath mint? Yeah.
Yeah. You want a beer? Wash that down.
And the thing is, I think that's the same cemetery that they have basically a temporal displacement there too at times.
Well, I think the coolest thing about that particular cemetery is that they've, a couple of the guys who've been there have drawn maps of here's a tree, here's a tree, here's a tree, here are these tombstones, and when they go back, the maps don't match the cemetery.
Right.
The tombstones. I mean, and one of the guys, this actually might have been Mike Auercade, was leaning against a tombstone, and it moved, and he fell. It moved while he was leaning on it. So that cemetery's amazing.
Yeah, we was, and for our listeners that we actually know Ryan personally, and one time when he was actually telling the story, you think about this story and you think, yeah, whatever, that's just a story, right?
Right.
But watching Ryan tell this, he got goosebumps so bad from telling this story that it was you have to believe it.
Yeah.
I mean,
he looked scared.
he really did. He looked like it really affected him, and and seeing something like that. And I could imagine if I saw something like that, I probably wouldn't even change my course.
Yeah.
But I mean, and also, truthfully, he really did have his very pronounced goosebumps from telling the story.
Yeah.
And so that really, to me, was an indicator that it was real, or at least real to him.
Yeah, I mean, and he's not typically that way either.
No, he's not. He's a very mellow, not real wound up person.
Yeah.
Well, he took me to that cemetery, and the cemetery while I was there, and it was in the middle of the day. It was really weird. One of the weird things about it that really stuck with me was how quiet it was. And there was a fence around the cemetery because there's a pasture land behind it, and there were cattle there, staring at us. I grew up on a farm, and we had lots of cattle, and they don't just stand there for an hour and stare at you. There was no noise whatsoever. We didn't have any birds, there weren't any bugs. Everything was just dead quiet. I'd never seen anything like that before.
That was fascinating. Yeah, I grew up on a farm too, and cows, they might stare at you for a second, but they got better things to do.
Yeah. You're not interesting.
That is pretty wild.
Any thoughts as to why that particular place is like that?
No, I've been wondering for a long time about various places in the world and why things happen there. In the place where I live, there have been an inordinate number of murders and disappearances and just really, really weird stuff happened for a small, conservative, relatively peaceful farming area. It's a lot like the area that, huh?
Sexual repression.
It's a lot like the place where I grew up, and nothing bad happened there. Not
I'm sorry, that's the lawyer in me. You get lots of murders and everything in a small area.
Especially related to those murders.
It's repression.
Wow.
Sorry. Any thoughts as to the number of murders in your area?
Too many.
Too many. Cause. Stop it, John. I'm sorry.
Wow, we have to do something with her.
Do you have any theories as to why it's happening?
No, I just think that some areas are more prone to bad things happening. I have no idea why, but there just seem to be certain areas where bad things happen.
Yeah.
I mean, there are reports that ghost happenings happen more predominantly where there's limestone caves in the area. I don't know. Maybe there's something underneath the ground that attracts bad things. There was a guy from Kearney, Missouri, which is almost about an hour and a half or more drive from here. About 10, 12 years ago, he drove up here and to an abbey and just shot a couple of monks. What the hell? Really?
What the heck do you?
Well, exactly. And I mean, there were closer monks to where he lived.
Closer monks. You have to drive the damn far, man. You know how much gas is? It's down right now.
Yeah, it's, there's some things that are just kind of hard to give a rational reason for. So, I mean, but there do seem to be some areas that certain phenomena are attracted to, and that you can't really explain. As far as the limestone, I do think there is something to that. And I think it's the high high crystal content in limestone.
Well, it'd be high energy. I mean,
Yeah.
if there's a high crystal content, there'd be a high energy content.
Yeah.
And maybe not even measurable. You know, just this. You know, and I was thinking about as you were talking, telling your story. Has there been any sort of like a massacre, like during Indian Wars or Civil War activity, or something like that could cause an area of negative energy?
No, I don't think so. Although there was a mass killing here back in 1974. It wasn't in the town where I lived, but 20 minutes away. A 14-year-old kid who had a crush on a girl across the farm field kept asking her out, and she kept, he was kind of creepy, so she kept telling him no. And one day when the whole family was gone, he went to their house and hid and waited for them to come home and go to sleep, and then he killed them all.
Wow.
After he was done, he went home and went to sleep, got on the bus the next morning to go to school. The bus went by the house, and he goes, I don't think they're coming to school today. So the bus continued on to school. He's still in prison.
Good.
Oh.
Good.
Yeah, I hope he never gets out.
Well, and something similar to that happened about 50 miles north of here, of where I'm living, in Villisca, Iowa, back in 1912. Have you heard of the Villisca Axe Murder House? Yeah, it's supposedly really haunted, and I took a class on a field trip there once. Best field trip ever. And
field trip? Villisca.
Yeah. We did an investigation and found we found some really weird stuff there, and it was the same kind of thing. A guy, his family was at a church picnic, and they came home and went to bed, and somebody was hiding in the attic with an axe and killed everybody in their sleep.
Jason, maybe you should look and see if there's a third one somewhere and triangulate it. Maybe you have a murder triangle there.
No, I don't want to.
I actually have a good friend, Jon Emmett, who she grew up near Villisca and went to.
That explains a lot.
Yeah, and she actually had a friend that lived there as a child and went over there and had sleepovers and so forth.
Wow.
What, at the house?
There's a lot of stories about it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there were people who lived there. There's a family that rented the house. Probably about 20 years after the murder. The father slept in a shed out back because he couldn't sleep in the house. He was too damn scared.
I wouldn't sleep in there either, Script.
Yeah, I think I'd move. So Jason, we're winding down here. Give a call out for where people can find your books and get a hold of you.
Okay. Let me just spell my name. My last name is Offutt, Jason Offutt. Just look me up on Amazon.com. All my books are there. Funeral Stories. My first novel just came up today, so this is a great day for me. You can get a hold of me at shadowpeoplebook@gmail.com. I'd love to hear any comments or questions or stories people have.
Awesome. That was great having you on the show, man. A great conversation.
Yeah, and we'll get a hold of you next month for the PSAs.
All right, that's terrific. I've had a great time. Thanks.
Thanks, buddy. Have a good night.
Talk to you
All
soon.
right, you too. Bye.
Bye.
And thank you all for being here, and we hope you all have a good night.
Thank you all. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, bye.
No.